Hello. Today we're discussing Parsha Vayeitzei, and he went. As we recall it from the previous Parsha Toldot, Jacob or Yaakov leaves his hometown of Beersheba and journeys to Haran. On the way, he encounters the place where he sleeps, and there he is dreaming of a ladder connecting the heaven and earth, with angels climbing up and descending down. And in his dream, God appears and promises to him that the land upon which he lies right now will be given to his descendants, and that God will protect him in all his endeavors, and God is fully aware of where he is going and what is going to happen to him. And God says to him, do not be afraid, I will be with you. In the morning, Jacob rises, and the stone onto which he slept, he makes into an altar and a monument, and pledges that this will be the house of God in the future. This place will be made into house of God in the future. And guess what? This is the Temple Mount. This is exactly where he was, and this is where eventually were the first and the second Jewish temples. And hopefully will be the third one. In Haran, on the outskirts of Haran at the well, Jacob meets Rachel, falls in love, and he stays and works for his uncle Laban, tending Laban's sheep, and Laban agrees to give him Rachel. In exchange, Jacob or Yaakov must work for 7 years. And in return, he will get Rachel in marriage. But on the wedding night, Laban gives him his elder daughter Leah instead, and a deception Jacob discovers only in the morning, because it was dark. And Jacob is very upset and obviously complains to Laban. He says, our tradition is that first the older sister must get married. And there is a lot to it, and there is a lot of sisterly love between those two sisters involved, as well as there is a lot of anger between them and competition between them. But I don't have the time to explain all of this. Jacob or Yaakov marries Rachel in a week time, after he agrees to work for another 7 years for Laban. As a consequence of these two marriages, Leah gives birth to her 6 sons, Reuben, Shimon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun, and a daughter, Dinah, while Rachel remains barren. Rachel gives Jacob her handmaid Bilhah as a wife, and to bear children in her stead, and 2 more sons are born, Dan and Naphtali. And Leah does the same thing with her handmaid Zilpah, who gives birth to Gad and Asher. Finally, Rachel's prayers are answered, and she gives birth to Joseph. Now, Yaakov or Jacob has been in Canaan now for 14 years, and he wishes to return home. And he secretly sort of moves out with his wife and his family and his camels and everything to get out. But Laban persuades him to remain, and now he is offering him some sheep in return for his labor. Yaakov prospers even further, and despite all Laban's repeated attempts to swindle him, to cheat on him, after 6 years, Yaakov leaves Haran secretly, fearing that Laban will prevent him from living again with his family and property for which he actually worked. Laban pursues him and wants actually to kill him, but he is warned by God in his dream not to harm Yaakov. And Laban and Jacob make a pact on Mount Galed, and which attested to peaceful treaty between them. And a pile of stones is erected, and Jacob proceeds to the Holy Land, where he is met by the angels. Remember the angels in the beginning of this parsha I was talking about it. So the angels now coming down and greeting him. Because at the beginning, when he first time saw the ladder of the angels, right, the angels which took him in the land of Israel were going up. And the angels which would take him out of the land of Israel to Haran were coming down. Now the whole process was reversed. And this is the whole content of this parsha. This parsha is providing answers to one of the deepest questions we all humans have. And the question is, why are we here? What this is all about. The thing called life. And the all possible answers to this question fall under two general categories. One, we are here in order to enjoy ourselves, enjoy life, and realize our full potential, receive pleasure, and achieve maybe transcendence. Or the second answer, we are here in order to serve to something greater than ourselves, to serve society, history, God. What makes this question so difficult to address is the sense that both A and B are true. Both of them are true. On the one hand, the Torah repeatedly stresses that God's program for life is for the good of man, both materially and spiritually. The mitzvot were given in order to refine humanity, says the Midrash. And the Talmud says every man is obligated to say, the world is created for my sake. And at the same time, Talmud says, the man should say, I am nothing. It's a paradox. It's a contradiction. The Hasidic masters describe the saga of the soul as the descent for purpose of ascent. Look what is happening. The soul entry into physical state entails a reduction of the soul's spiritual faculties, sensitivities, abilities, freedom. And the soul doesn't want to get inside the physical body. And this is what the sages are telling us. It's basically, Hashem tells the soul, just go in for a second to try, to see how it fits. The soul agrees, goes in, and then it's locked. And the purpose of it all is that the soul is absolute necessity in order to make the body functional, the physicality functional, but the purpose of it is to get the physicality elevated by the challenges and achievements of the earthly life. To understand this, we must first examine the life of Jacob. separated from the people of Israel. Yes, there is Israel, there is all of us, all Jewish people. And look at Jacob himself. In this parsha, Torah recounts Jacob's departure from the Holy Land, where he had spent the first half of his life immersed in Torah study, learning. So he was on a very, very high spiritual level, exactly similar to what the neshama, the soul, Jewish soul experiences when it's up in the spiritual world. And then, because the way the whole system works, he must come down. He must go down into the physicality. And in Haran, Jacob worked for 20 years with his conniving uncle Laban. And in the midst of the dirt and corruption and the debased society and the epitome of immorality. However, through all of this, Jacob or Yaakov remained pure and true to God. And a man who was serving Laban honestly, even as Laban was trying to constantly to deceive him, to swindle him. And he was diligently following and observing all 613 commandments of the Torah while being there with Laban, retaining, and he managed to retain his learning experience, what he learned through the years of study, and on top of that, he prospered materially, amassing considerable wealth in Haran, and also he married and fathered 11 of his 12 sons, who were to initiate the 12 tribes of Israel. So look at it. He, through his life, from the height of spiritual learning, comes down into the physical world. He manages to work through his life right through, right? He accumulates wealth, so he's successful physically, but most importantly, he produces descendants, the 12 tribes. Jacob's journey to Haran is the story of every soul descent to earth. The soul too lives in a spiritual idyllic world behind, an existence with total divine awareness and knowledge, and then it's sent to struggle into the physical world down here, right, with Laban in Haran, basically, this is what our life is here on earth, the world of Malchut, the lowest world there is. We come down to this life which proclaims and makes very real our physicality and hides the spiritual aspect of it behind a number of screens. But every soul is empowered as a child of Jacob or Yaakov to make the physical life as a descent for the purpose of ascent. To emerge from Haran, from the physical world, from the material earthly life, with its integrity intact and its memory absolutely true, with full spiritual capability. Indeed, not only does it return with the spiritual powers reinforced by this challenge, it returns wealthier soul, because it has learned to exploit the forces and the resources of the physical world, to improve this physical world to its spiritual ends. And most significantly, in its spiritual state, the soul is perfect, but childless. But only in physical state, when it comes down to this earth, it can fulfill the divine mitzvot, which is the production, the creation of the souls of descendants, which link to the infinite and the eternal. You will ask, what about the personal fulfillment in all this, and how are we going to build a dwelling for God, which is what Torah is talking about? Can the dwelling for God, built in the lowly realms of our world, be constructed? Can it be constructed mechanically by devoted workers, faithful to their employer, but missing any understanding and appreciation of what it is they are doing? Can man serve God without experiencing Him as a personal and intimate presence in his life? In other words, Hashem could use robots to build something for Him here on this planet. He doesn't need us humans. Machines. The answer is no. The ultimate answer is no. God desires that we serve Him with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our mind. That our life's work should not be a robotic implementation of commandments and brainless following of what the rules, somebody said the rules and we follow them, doesn't matter what. That's not what Hashem wants us to do. He wants us to work, to understand, and to improve ourselves. Hashem wants us to do the labor of building His world of love, which stimulates our minds, excites our emotions, and most importantly, fulfills our life and prolongs our life through the future, through our descendants, through our children, grandchildren, and so on. Thank you very much. I will see you in the next parsha.